All right, welcome to Revit 2019 Demo 4. We're going to continue off from our Revit 2019 Demo 3 video. So I'm opening it up and I'm in level 1. So I'm going to zoom into level 1 and get that kind of oriented. I'm then going to go up to my Architecture Floors tab. This lecture is going to mostly focus on floors and ceilings. So I'm going to create a floor architectural model. And from the floor properties option, the ribbon is displayed. So floor properties option, you notice that this create floor boundary is displayed. We're then going to pick walls, the icon inline tools area, which is right here. So pick walls. Double lines are span direction as we click these walls, and you should see magenta lines as you pick them. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to go ahead and click, and you'll notice that it's selecting that exterior core wall. You'll notice that if I flip this arrow, it'll default to the interior wall. On some of your projects, it may default interior or exterior, so just know that. If it's on an interior wall, that's technically incorrect, but we're going to leave it for now. You'll notice in the properties that it's drawing a 12-inch floor. You'll notice that it's room bounding. I'm going to go ahead and swap that one more time. So just taking note that you can flip the perimeter and it updates the entire wall. These double lines explain where that span direction is. We can edit the type of this in here, so you can actually edit the type of the floor structure. We'll get into that a little bit more later, but I want to note that walls are being selected to face of core. So in 3D, once I've selected these right here with that flipped, and I check, and I hit View 3D, and I rotate down and under, you'll notice that the walls are being snapped to the interior walls. The floor could be inside or outside of the core of wall. So it's up to you to notice that. So you're going to want to select the floor and edit the boundary again. And what you'll do is you'll select this front magenta line, and you can see the arrow. You can do this in plan or level. Notice I'm just tabbing back. I have it extend into wall core or not. I'm going to have it go out to that exterior wall. The floor is not really close to being perfect. The garage floor would be lower than the house floor, and that's for water. The floor is 12 inches thick with no material assigned, and the edges of the floor are not correct. We will address all this later. So we're going to hit Finish, check mark, View 3D, and you'll notice now it's going to the exterior of the wall. This is just that metal stud EIFS material that we have. So if we look at this, it's EIFS on metal stud. That's why it's looking like it's hanging over further than it should, but it's actually accurate now that we've flipped that arrow. So when we go into ceilings, I want to make a purposeful mistake on the ceiling to show you the ceiling plan dynamics. So if you go to floor plan level 1, we're going to go to architecture, ceiling. In the ceiling view, you'll notice that it automatically highlights an area. It's automatic ceiling. Let's cover that small 15-foot area on the right with the ceiling and zoom in on that area. So I'm going to select that. Notice that my properties are set to 2-foot by 4-foot ACT system, and notice that I'm getting a warning. And don't freak out. Revit warnings are normal. You're going to get things like this. None of the creative elements are visible in floor plan level 1 view. You may want to check the active view, its parameters and visibility settings, as well as any plan regions in their settings. So the reason for this is to notify you that none of the elements are visible in the floor plan level. Why? Well, that's because our view range is only set to a top height of 9 feet, and our cut range is at 4 feet. And it's actually, our top is actually currently set, let's see what it's set at. If we hit escape twice, and we select the view range, you'll notice that it's only at 7'6". So that's why we can't see the ceiling, because the ceiling was drawn at 8 feet. Because the display representation for a ceiling is looking up and not looking down, we're going to escape twice, and we're going to view 3D. We're going to orbit around. I'm shift clicking and middle mouse clicking. And you'll notice that the ceiling is in there. It is actually in there. So we want to switch views to the ceiling plan level 1. So if I switch to ceiling plan level 1, you can now see it because the view range has been flipped. So you can actually see that an ACT compound ceiling's been drawn. Still being in ceiling plan level 1, let's put a ceiling over the garage area, but a gypboard metal stud ceiling. So we're going to go to architecture, we're going to go to ceiling, and we're going to sketch the ceiling this time. So we're going to select a compound, we're going to select this element dropdown and select gypsum wallboard on metal stud, and we're going to sketch the ceiling. We want the height offset from the level to be 7 feet. So what you'll notice is now we want to sketch the ceiling with a chain. So we have our boundary line selected, we have a line selected, and I can begin to actually lay out what I want my ceiling to look like. So in this particular case, I'm going to draw kind of a wild ceiling, and you'll notice that when I finish the ceiling, we can't see it in this view. It's because our height is set to 7 feet, and our view range in our ceiling plan is set to 7'6". So we can't see anything above or below because that's set to 7'6". We can see to the top of level 2 though. So just to level 2 at the 0 foot. That's why we're able to see this one. So if I go back to 3D, you'll notice that my ceiling's drawn in there. But my ceiling is actually interfering with the garage doors. Don't worry about mistakes on drawing the boundary. You can always fix that later if necessary. So you want to stay on the inside of the walls. Notice that I drew them all on the inside of the walls. The magenta sketch lines must be closed loops. So to kind of illustrate that, if I edit this boundary again, go back to the ceiling plan level 1, even though I can't see it, I can still modify it. If I were to draw a line that stopped here, or just shy of there, like there, and hit finish, I'm going to get an error that says lines must be in closed loops. We'll get into the trim and extend commands soon, but for now you can just drag this line end and snap it to that line end, and then hit check, and then go back to your 3D view, and you'll notice it's there, that same ceiling. So we see that in the 3D view, and we saw the original design iteration. Our ceiling is a little low, so let's adjust it. We're going to select the ceiling in the garage by left selecting. It should turn blue. And then we're going to hit properties. So properties is here. We're just going to go over to properties. Height offset from level. It is currently at 7 feet, so let's set it to 9 feet. So we're going to go ahead and adjust this value. Get it to 9 feet. I didn't select it correctly. 9 feet. Apply. There we go. So we adjusted that to 9 feet. The ceiling should be okay now. So let's change that ceiling style to a 2x4 compound like the other one. So we're going to escape twice to exit, show the ceiling plan in level 1, where we can see both. And once we've done that, we are now going to choose the compound ceiling 2x4 ACT system. Some people call it a T-bar ceiling. So we're going to select this and change this to the 2x4 ACT system. The ceiling grids can be selected and moved and aligned to your needs. So if you need to move these to be slightly off, you can adjust them and drag them. You can also align them. So if I want if I have an odd number in here, I can hit AL, which is the align command, and align from that to the misaligned one. We'll get into that a little bit more as we progress. So we're going to select the ceiling and edit the boundary button. So selecting the ceiling, editing the boundary. It should turn magenta. You're going to select the top horizontal line and see the dimensions and blue dot grips. So when we select that, notice that. You can adjust the dimensions or stretch and change the shape. Grab the center of the line with the left mouse button with a left click, and you can click and drag that and move it to where you want it. It's pretty easy. You're going to hit the green check you want to show it in 3D. So we're going to hit View 3D, and now it's adjusted. So you can change the shape using the sketch lines, and we can also add a hole in the ceiling. So if we wanted to, we could edit the boundary. We could draw in 3D. So I could actually place a circle here, or I could go back to my level 1 view to ensure that that circle's the size I want it to be. And so I'm just adjusting these values, and then I'm going to check, and now I've got a hole in my ceiling. So let's see how many drawings have been created. We're going to go to View Tile, so Tile Views, and you'll notice that we've got 3 different drawings that we've been working in, and those are what are active. It's all within the same file. So we want to go to View, and then we want to go to Zoom. So we want to be able to zoom from this view. I've got to try to find it real quick, so bear with me. Oh, it's actually, we're going to view it from here. So we're going to zoom all to fit, or zoom to fit that particular view. And then we can actually come into each view and hit ZE. So you can actually hit ZE, and that's going to get it to zoom extents. So just know that that's there. You've learned how to create a floor and a ceiling in sketch mode, and how to add a hole in a floor or a ceiling and utilize a ceiling plan. So we're going to go ahead and save this as a project for Revit 2019 Demo 4.